Well, howdy, everybody. It is time to get the show. Oh, look, we got a countdown right over your face. That's not a good place for it. You can like dodge and bounce around there and try to stay out of the way. We'll
I'm okay. Like numbers that only improves things.
Hey, everybody. Let's see. We're going to give people a few minutes, as always, to tune in, find the live show, get ourselves ready in here. We are ready on this side, aren't we? Let me get that slideshow up. We're going to see some of this guy's pictures. They're kind of okay, you know, whatever. Like, whatever. Can't believe this. I am stoked that we're actually going out together to get some pictures. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we've only done it a couple times. We always talk about it.
I know. I know. Mine going to be mostly torn whether I'm shooting stills or video. That's going to be my hardest thing.
Right. Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad you have to worry about the video because when it's on me, and I just video with my phone, but I still suck at it. But also, and then drones, you know, we'll probably get some aerial stuff. Yeah. And we'll have like 3 drones going because Zach, I'm sure, is bringing his.
Nice.
So, yeah, it'll be.
Nice. Have you seen the Mavic Air?
I haven't seen it in person. No,
yeah, I don't. Cool. Here, let me.
Is that what you're running?
Yeah. That's what I'm running today. Let's see.
Yeah.
Where did I put it?
I know. I stayed away from the Air because I didn't want to get tempted, and I know that there's a Pro 2 on the way.
Sure.
And I'm like, if I'm going to get another drone at some point, I'll wait for the Pro 2. Awesome. Although the Air, just for size, God,
I mean, that's incredible. Hard.
Yeah. This is the thing I love. Cool. I love it when people do this. Look, it fits under my iPhone.
And then the fact that the joysticks come off.
Yeah.
That is just one of the greatest design decisions.
Cool. I had to get a special guard for my other one.
Exactly.
So that they don't get tweaked.
Yeah. Well, I'm expecting we'll get some really good footage.
Awesome. Yeah.
These things are.
Well, we'll see when the Pro 2 comes out. Then at that point I can decide.
Yep. Absolutely.
But.
All right, we got some people rolling in. Burns Tech, good morning. Roshak. I'm going to go with Roshak Basnet. Hello, how are you? I'm fine, Roshak. How are you? Estro Digital, as always. Good to see you, my man. Sean and Joseph show. He was the one who was excited on Twitter this morning for us.
Oh, yeah.
It's very nice.
Thanks for the excitement.
Hey, we love excitement. We love excitement. We are, God, I feel, it's funny because usually I have stuff to do during these few minutes and I'm kind of scrambling to even get done in time. But now I feel like everything's ready. I'm like, so, what'd you have for dinner last night?
I saw Alinka went running in the mud over the weekend.
Oh yeah, she said that you asked about that, the mud run.
Yeah, I did. Well, I just saw some photos and I'm like, what? You know, face paint, costumes, and then mud, and I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, it's was it Eagle Point or wherever the thing is? Anyway, it's this big mud run. It's every year.
Yeah.
And it's a race, but it's a fun, you know, it's just for giggles. But apparently, you can sign up as a family. And the youngest, I think, is 4 years old. So we're talking about doing it next year with Yuri because he would just love that.
Right?
Like running through the mud, crawling.
Totally.
There was like a crawl pit where they had these little sticks with strings on them. You had to crawl underneath, and it's completely muddy. So they're like army crawling. It's so great.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's so much fun.
That sounds like fun.
Yep.
Very good.
Really, I think she had a blast. Yeah. And it was they do teams, and so I think there were 8 girls that were together in this team. And they kind of broke off into groups. The actual athletes were up in the front, some in the middle and some in the back, like, whatever.
Yeah, it looked like a blast.
Yeah, I think so.
Awesome.
I think so. Let's see here. Burns, you're not going to stick around. What's that all about? What is that all about? Oh, Tony Hill, hello in London. Excellent. Oh, look at that. We are out of our timer. Perfect. That means we can actually start the show now. Shall we have a show? Feeling good?
Let's do a show. I'm ready.
Let's do it. On today's show, my friend Sean Bagshaw and I are going to talk about heading out of town for a few days of shooting. We're going to look at some of his photos to see what he's got on previous trips like this and talk about what we're going to do.
Sounds good.
Good morning and welcome to PhotoJoseph's Photo Moment, the first live 3 times a week show here on YouTube, youtube.com/PhotoJoseph, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. But you knew that.
I do know that.
You do that. That's why you're here.
That's why I'm here.
My friends, this is Sean Bagshaw. Sean is a phenomenal landscape photographer. Actually, that's bullshit. He's just like a hack. He doesn't really take good pictures. But I figured I'd be nice to him, bring him on the show. No, his stuff is kind of insane, kind of ridiculous. I did a workshop with you 4 years ago?
Yeah.
It was a while ago.
Up
in Bend.
Yeah, it's been at least that.
It was a lot of fun. Learned a lot. That's because I don't do landscape as a rule. That's not my thing. Obviously, it's great to do. You know, it's always fun. It's nice to get some fresh air, make some pretty pictures, but that's just not my thing. But I figured, and I go out with you, you obviously know a thing or two about it, learn some stuff, and I definitely learned some techniques out there, even Lightroom techniques, learned a few things there, because I was still getting used to Lightroom at that time.
That's right, that was right kind of when the switch over
Well,
was
that
happening
literally
for you,
was that
weekend.
trip, right? That weekend, I was completely stressed out because that was the weekend that Aperture got killed.
I remember that.
That was not too much fun. So tell me about what we're doing. Where are we going? I actually don't really know where we're going. I can get in a car with him. I have no idea. But we're going out for a few days to shoot some pretty pictures. And we're going to look at the kind of stuff that we're going to get. But tell us where we're going.
So, well, as landscape, if anybody out there is a landscape photographer, I think everyone knows Oregon is kind of an excellent place to be a landscape photographer because it has just a huge variety of landscape terrain that's really beautiful and really not overcrowded. Shh, don't tell anyone about that. But here in the Rogue Valley in Southern Oregon, where we are, we're not too far from the Southern Oregon and Northern California coast, and that's where the California coastal redwoods are. Okay. So we're going to go to the redwoods, and also the whole coastline along there is super dramatic, beautiful, Pacific coast. And also there's an area we're going to go to called the Bald Hills, which is kind of up in the hills above the redwoods. And you get above the redwoods and the hills open up, and this is the time of year, if it's a good year, when there are just some amazing flower blooms up there.
Nice. And
so I don't know, I haven't seen reports to know if the flowers are good this year, but we'll find out later today when we get there. Okay. But if they are, it's spectacular.
And are we going to be we're going out for 2 nights. Are we going to be in different places tonight and tomorrow night?
You know, a trip like this, until we get there, a lot of times we'll formulate the plan. There's lots of places to shoot, so we have no lack of potential. If it's good up there, we may just decide, let's just, burn all our sunrises and sunsets in the hills with the flowers, because the redwoods are always there.
Got it.
But if the flowers are not looking great, or if it's going to be cloudy or foggy or something like that, then we may say, yeah, let's head down to the trees or get out on the coast or something like that.
Okay, so Bald Hills, that's our first stop. That's where we go.
You definitely want to go scope that out and see what that's looking like, and that'll then kind of determine what we're going to do next, or how we're going to proceed.
Very good. Well, let's take a look at some pictures from previous years here of doing trips like this. Just give us a quick rundown. What are we looking at?
That's the Crescent City Lighthouse, and yeah, Crescent City is kind of the last town in California if you're coming up the Coast Highway before you hit Oregon, and that's the lighthouse that's out on the point there in town.
Nice. I'm sure I've seen that before too.
Yeah.
What a spot.
And of course the redwoods. I mean, that's kind of what that whole part of the coast is really famous for. Just massive trees, beautiful, lush, forests, green ferns.
Yeah.
Trails going through. It's really a fairy tale land.
So I know that you do a lot of exposure blending, and that's how you get, maybe not particularly that shot, but it's how you get a lot of the really dramatic images. For any given image like this, how much time do you on average spend, or is there any such thing as, like, some are just a few minutes, some are a few days?
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah. It really depends. Yeah, if you've got a really broad dynamic range and you are having to bracket exposures to get it all captured, because it doesn't fit in one exposure value. Right. And then you're having to blend those together, or if you're doing a lot of other kind of intricate developing work, then yeah, it can really take a lot of time. Sometimes the forest shots with soft light like that, they come out of the camera pretty close. You do a little contrast, a little color work, and you're there.
Got it. Got it. That looks like it's got a little bit more going on there.
Yeah.
Some great light in the background.
Yeah, and in the forests, forests are tricky, and I think a lot of people have difficulty, especially with light in forests and deep forests. They're in there in the middle of the day, it's sunny, there's, you've got spotlights of light coming through, you got deep shadows, exposure all over the place. So one of the tricks is just shoot when it's really, when the sun's not up. So I took this about 4 in the morning. It was almost pure dark. That's like a, I don't know, 2 or 3 minute exposure to get, but that's the light that was filtering in. It was very, dim light, but it was beautiful, soft, even light. And this is another thing. Hopefully, we'll see the rhododendrons in the redwoods if they're blooming. Okay. And again, those year to year are really variable, and also when they actually bloom can be anywhere from now till the end of June. So we'll see what we see.
We'll see what we get. Excellent. Yep. So I see Bern's second here saying the photos are amazing. I completely agree.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, he told you. He didn't know what he's doing. Which, by the way, for those of you who are watching live, if you have any questions for either of us, make sure you put them into the chat, the live chat there. Put PhotoJoseph in front of it so we can see it, and we'll bring it up on the screen and do our best to answer your questions. Let's see what else we got in here. Whoa.
So that is a location. That's called Secret Beach. That's actually in Oregon, but it's just on the Oregon side of the California border. From where we're going to be, that's not a far drive.
Okay.
And then there's lots of coastline like that down in the Redwoods in California where we're going to be as well.
Wow.
Yeah, sea stacks, just dramatic coastline, beautiful.
Yeah, that's Oregon. I mean, I love this kind of coastline. We have this much more dramatic than just simple beaches that you get in Southern California. This is
the long
so
strips
much
of sand. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the Oregon coast. I mean, there's some great coasts around the world, and Oregon's right up there.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Very nice. All right, let's see what's next here.
And redwoods. These are, I believe that these, the coast redwoods are the tallest trees in the world. I think the actual most massive trees are the sequoias in the Sierra Nevada range, like Sequoia National Park. They're actually kind of thicker and stumpier and more total mass, but these are the tallest.
Nice. That's pretty cool. We do have a question coming in. Tony Hill is saying, hi, Sean, what filter system do you use?
Filter system. Well, I've let's see, it's probably been a couple years now, using all Breakthrough photography filters. Breakthrough Photography started as, I think, just like a Kickstarter or a GoFundMe or something like that. Kickstarter, I think. They're out of the Bay Area, and they've really expanded in the last couple years. They have some excellent products, high quality, super great stuff. And I just use all of their circular filters, screw-on type. And I'm using polarizers and neutral density. And they have a filter called a dark CPL, which is a polarizer and neutral density all in one.
Okay.
So instead of having to stack, like a 6-stop ND with a polarizer, you can just use the one filter. It's kind of nice.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Right on. We'll put a link to these in the show notes. That's
absolutely
awesome.
Yeah. Breakthrough Photography, great stuff. New company, kind of thinking out of the box too. With filters, which you would think might be hard, but they're definitely doing some stuff that no one else is doing.
That's great. Can't argue with that. All right, let's get these slides back up here. Next up. Oh, what happened here? Oh, there it goes.
There we go. So just more redwood scenery. I think we'll be a little early for the trillium. That's what those flowers are. But it's fun to, take those photos where you've got these, little delicate things in this massive tree kind of, imposing in the background. You only see just the very bottom of the trunk, but you know what it is.
You know what it is. Is this, would this be focus stacked?
This one was, so this was a long process. This was focus stacked and exposure blended.
Wow.
Because I've got direct sunlight hitting in, on the flowers and parts of the trunk and other places, and then deep shadows, and then also, extreme depth of field just because I'm so close to those flowers in the foreground.
Sure, and I think it's worth pointing out that the exposure blending that you're talking about, you mentioned a broad dynamic range, so you need to capture multiple exposures. But this is not HDR photography from the traditional sense of automated blending. All this exposure blending is manual. It's
correct.
It's essentially the same concept. Take the properly exposed areas from multiple photos and blend them together, but it's completely manual.
It is. It's manual, and so it's no software involved other than Photoshop, and you're doing masking techniques, layers of masking in Photoshop, and it's it's a tricky thing to learn, and to get it really good at it takes time. It's definitely not a quick process.
Right.
But I like it better than anything that HDR software is able to do, because HDR software is kind of taking all the pixels from your various exposures and mushing them together into one set of pixels.
Right.
Where this is, you're taking the original pixels that your camera caught, and you're taking the best pixels from this section of the image, and I want to use those pixels there. But then down here, I want to use these pixels from a separate exposure, and it's those actual pixels. It's not some amalgamation that the software mushed together. And so you have more control, and I think in the end, better quality.
Nice. Yeah. And you said it takes some time to learn, and I know I've tried a little bit of it.
Yeah.
You have training on this.
I do.
Unplug that.
I do, yeah.
Where can people find the training?
So you can go to my website, which is outdoorexposurephoto.com. And if you go to the tutorials page, I have lots of different tutorials, and there's one called Developing for Extended Dynamic Range.
Nice.
And this is something also that, when I started, I kind of myself and other photographers really with digital photography, when it first kind of came in, were looking like, how can we work this? Because there's been a limitation in film. You know, like if you've got too wide of dynamic range for your film, what do? Well, you can use graduative filters or different things. But this idea of being able to blend different exposures together, immediately wanted to get on that. And those early digital cameras, they didn't have very much dynamic range, so there were a lot of scenarios that were beyond the capabilities of the camera, and it required this. The cameras keep getting better and better, and they can capture a wider and wider dynamic range in a single exposure, so the number of instances where I use this these days gets fewer and fewer.
Oh, interesting.
But when you hit those scenes that do go beyond what your camera can capture, it's, you know, the best way to go.
Nice. Very cool. All right, let's see what else we got here. What are we looking at here?
So that's what the Bald Hills looks like.
Ooh.
And so the green down in the valley below, you know, the kind of fading into the light down there, that's the, you know, that's redwood forest down there eventually. But when you get up above the redwood forest in the Bald Hills, you get these open meadows, oak trees, and just these huge lupin blooms that just spread out across the meadows up there. And like I said, some years it's amazing. This was a particularly really good year.
Nice.
And other years I've heard people go up there and don't see much at all.
Nothing, yeah.
So it'll be a surprise.
That's nature. That's nature. We got some other comments coming in here. Tom Murphy says, have either of you ever shot at Little River Canyon in Alabama? If not, you recommend it. It's a hidden treasure. I haven't.
I have not either, but I believe my friend and colleague David Cobb, who's done a lot of traveling and photographing kind of in the South and the East and the Midwest, that may be a location he's been to. I know he speaks highly of a lot of locations in the South and in the East.
Yeah,
yeah.
Nice. Sounds like you got to do some more road trips.
My kids are a couple years away from, you know, leaving the nest, and yeah, once they're out of the house, my plan is I want to spend, you know, like whole months of time, you know, traveling the East Coast and the South, because I know there's just so much.
So much to say. Yeah, beautiful. SRO Digital is saying in here, the Oregon coast in views. Is that why a quarter of the world's photographers seem to reside in Oregon? It's a good reason to be here, for sure.
Yeah, you know, I don't know. It's maybe that's the case, but definitely there are a lot of photographers, landscape photographers, coming out of Oregon, and or who have moved to Oregon, and not even just, you know, the current generation, but if you go back, I mean, we've got some kind of legacy photographers going back to the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Who are just spectacular photographers, you know, traveling the state, and then people like, you know, kind of some famous people from the 90s, 80s, and 90s, like George Lepp and John Shaw moved to Oregon, probably because of all the great photography and the good lifestyle.
Yeah, that's true. Clean air, fresh air, water, all that good stuff. It's, we do have a bit of that here. Yep. I'm just flipping through the last few of these pictures on here.
Sure. Yeah, more redwoods, you know, rhododendrons. That's a rhododendron growing out of the side of this old dead redwood stump. And yeah, just beautiful.
Nice misty morning.
Yeah, this grove is right near the ocean, so when the fog comes in off the coast, it just creates this wonderful atmosphere.
Yep. Love that. That's such a nice thing about shooting out in nature like that, getting that natural fog that comes in. It can be so beautiful, and it can very quickly just completely ruin the shot.
Right.
Where it's just done.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you get just the right amount.
You got to be right on the edge of having just the right amount of fog without too much.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then if the sun comes through the fog, then you get that.
You get that. That's,
yeah.
Wow, stunning.
Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping that we see some of this while we're out there.
Yeah.
Hey, let's talk gear for a minute. What are you shooting with these days?
So I've been a Canon shooter my entire career. Okay. I started with really one of the very first little, you know, fixed lens, point and shoot type Canon digital cameras that they had that came out. And then, yeah, so I've just kind of worked through that. And the 5D series is the one I've been with, you know, for the past probably decade or more. And currently 5D Mark IV. It's a great camera. Yeah, and I like Canon, the build and the layout and all that works. They've been lagging behind Nikon and Sony and a few others in recent years. 5D Mark IV definitely got them closer in some capabilities. So, yeah, it's nice having that.
Is that the one that's super high resolution?
It's not their 50. I have that one too. I have the 5D SR, which is a 50 megapixel camera, which is a great camera. But honestly, the 30 megapixel 5D Mark IV has such clean image files that even though there's fewer pixels, I feel like I can actually do almost more in terms of enlarging with those files because they're so clean and yeah, sharp and everything looks good. Yeah.
And one of the things I learned when we did the workshop in Bend all those years ago was that you shoot with long lenses a lot more than I would have expected. Landscape, I think a lot of people, and I did, at least for landscape, you think, oh, you want a wide lens, get the wide lens, get the whole landscape in, but you're not doing that. You're shooting with a long lens for a lot of things.
Right, yeah, definitely. I think landscape photography with a telephoto lens is great.
Yeah.
Especially if you can get up some high vantage points and be able to zoom down on things, or in a forest scene like the redwoods, being able to kind of isolate, you know, when you got a lot of busyness, and to be able to zoom in and just choose little vignettes or segments out of the bigger scene. So yeah, a lot of times when I'm out shooting, I'll start with the kind of the big wide angle, take it all in sort of shot. But then once I've kind of, it was really, you know, if you've got almost 180-degree view in a 16mm lens, you know, there's only so many shots and you've taken them all. So then once I've done that, now put on the long lens and I can start going in and picking out little things. And in fact, another landscape photographer from the UK, Thomas Heaton, recently did a video on his YouTube channel where he talked about that. He said, yeah, sometimes I'll go and instead of one shot with my long lens, I've got 6 different shots. I didn't even move my tripod, you know, because I can just rotate and zoom in on different places.
Cool. Well, because of that, for those of you who are waiting for a better review of the new Lumix 200mm f2.8 lens, that's why it's sitting here, to remind me I am taking this with me. This is going to be the place where I finally get to put this through its paces. Because I'm not a sports photographer, so I don't really have that opportunity to shoot. But I knew this trip was coming up. I wanted it for that, so I will give you a comprehensive analysis of that with some good, hopefully some good picture samples.
That's a beautiful lens.
It's nice. It's a really good build quality. I'm excited to take it out there. Very cool. And actually, incidentally, before I forget that too, I want to put this up. There's a promotion going on right now. It's Leica promotion month. This goes only till, what is it, June 17th or so, but all the Leica lenses are on a discount. This is just from your regular dealership. You can go wherever you normally shop and pick these deals up, but this particular lens is actually $500 off right now, so that's obviously a heck of a deal if you're thinking about it, because it's not a cheap lens to start with, and this definitely helps make that a little bit easier, so do check that out. All right, let's talk about where you just came back from briefly, and then we're going to wrap this up because I got to pack and get ready for this trip.
Great.
We're leaving in like a few hours. I got to pack.
Yeah.
You just came back from somewhere I've heard of but never really knew anything about, called the Faroe Islands.
Faroe Islands, yeah, and it's a place that I didn't know much about it until maybe just a couple years ago. And I think that's the case for a lot of people. It's 18 islands. They're very small islands. Some of them are very close together, and they're in the North Atlantic, kind of in between Iceland and Norway, about 200 miles due north of well, a little north, one side or the other, but anyway, Scotland. So if you went to northern Scotland and then went another 200 miles north across the North Atlantic, you'd be at the Faroe Islands, and they are just amazing, wind-swept, wind-blown, grassy. There are no trees. There's a lot of sheep, very few people, and just amazing sea cliffs, waterfalls, oceans, and the weather out there is just always blowing through. It's always dramatic and stormy, or not always, but a lot of the time. And yeah, so this is high winds and high surf, and this is probably the most famous photography location on the islands. You see a lot of photographs from here, and the islands are starting to be more and more visited now. I think in the next couple of years it's going to kind of go like Iceland. A lot of people are going to be there, but at this point it still feels like it's a little bit undiscovered. We didn't see a ton of other people there. We were kind of in the off season too. But that view is kind of the real famous. You see that a lot, and that's a waterfall coming off the cliff there. But it was so windy, the waterfall was being blown backwards, back up, back up against itself. That's pretty awesome.
Oh man, what a sight! Wow.
Yeah, just huge sea cliffs, sea stacks. That sea stack out there is probably 500 feet high. It's just enormous, and you're up on the cliff. And at this point, because people, hasn't been a tourist destination, there's no viewpoints, there's no railings, there's no "don't go here" signs. I think that's coming.
Darwinism at its finest.
Yeah, but at this point you can put yourself right on the edge of the earth if you want.
No McDonald's and Starbucks everywhere. It's true undiscovered country.
Yeah, for now anyway.
That's just so incredible. I mean, it looks like something out of a movie. It's just 3D rendered almost. It's just so crazy.
And we were there for 7 days. I was traveling with my friends, Rainer Serwinski and Josh Merrill, both professional photographers. Rainer's out of Colorado and Josh is in Chicago.
Okay.
And we were there for 7 days, stayed in a couple different parts of the islands, traveled around a lot. And we had about 10 minutes of this kind of light one morning, and that was it for 7 days. And the rest of the days, it was more like the other photos you're seeing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like this. But it's still great, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's light that I would want. That is so cool.
Yeah, and this is another very, this is probably the other real popular, well-known location on the islands that people photograph. It's this lake, which is just above the ocean there.
Okay.
So you've got these cliffs. And actually, the big photo that everybody likes to take is they go to that point that you can see out there and shoot back towards the lake, and there's an optical illusion. It looks like the lake is actually lower than the ocean from that angle.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, even though it's a couple hundred feet higher. Yeah.
Huh. That's cool.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
What a sight. God, yikes. That's just incredible.
And that's, you know, that's kind of what it looks like on the islands. You know, fjords, mountains, lots of grass and rocks, and little villages on the each little cove, kind of little villages.
Beautiful.
That's beautiful.
And that's that.
That's that.
That is the last picture.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, thank you for showing that to us. Where can people see more of those pictures?
Well, I'm still working on those pictures, so slowly they're getting up. They'll be, you know, Instagram, Facebook, the social media outlets, that kind of stuff. Eventually, I'll be putting together kind of a behind-the-scenes trip video, just kind of fun, nothing, just pictures set to music, probably.
Did you fly the drone out there?
Yeah, I did a little bit of drone flying. So yeah, I hopefully be able to put something together video-wise. And then I'm currently having a new website built, so I probably won't put any of these images up on my current website because we're working on the new one. It should be hopefully ready in a couple of weeks.
Okay, great.
And yeah, so that's
cool. And what is that website?
Oh, sorry, outdoorexposurephoto.com, and you can find me, you know, on all the social media stuff. Just look for Sean Bagshaw.
Sean Bagshaw everywhere else. Very good.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, thank you very much for coming in. This
Thanks
is beautiful.
for having
Now I'm super inspired now for what we're going to be out shooting.
I think we're going to have a good time. And plus, I just got to mention, so we're meeting up with Zach Schnepp, who's one of the Photo Cascade team. He's coming with us.
That's awesome.
And also my friend Paul Imperia, who's another Southern Oregon local here. So the four of us will be out just, you know, hanging foul and getting in trouble and telling lies and all kinds of stuff.
Excellent. Well, be sure to follow all of us on Instagram because we will be posting photos and I know you're really good at the stories. I never do stories, but you're good at posting the stories.
Stories are fun. Yeah, we'll have to see if I don't even know if there's any signal out there. We might be totally off the grid.
Oh,
I know, you'll go through withdrawals.
Yeah. We'll stack them all up. You'll know when we hit signal because suddenly there'll be 30 things that hit Instagram at once.
Exactly.
Right on.
Right.
Good stuff. Well, thanks again for coming in. Thanks everybody for watching. See if there are no additional questions. Nope, nothing else in there. Thanks a bunch to people. And Wednesday, I will be in the middle of nowhere. So as he said, we probably won't have signal. There probably will not be a live show on Wednesday. If I can, I will go live with the Mevo, but don't count on it. However, I'll be back Wednesday afternoon or evening, right? We're coming back. So I'll probably do a show Thursday. If I don't get to do Wednesday, I'll do a show Thursday morning to make up for it. So we'll see you then. And yeah, let's go have some fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait.